Haitian immigrants are allegedly eating park geese and pet cats in Ohio. Allegedly, according to social media. I'm actually a little skeptical. We'll get to it, I promise. First, though, if you will indulge me, I just want to take a slight victory lap. I apparently bullied Kamala Harris into putting a policy platform on her website. I think I did it, actually. I don't want to take too much credit here, but 1 week ago today, I noticed something that no one else seemed to have noticed. And it's no knock on them. It's probably because it was too absurd for anyone even to check. And it was that Kamala's website did not list any policy proposals. There was no policy anywhere on the website. Trump's did. Trump's policy platform, in fact, was the first link on his website. Kamala didn't even have one. So I pointed this out on social media. I said, this is the difference between the two campaigns, all you need to know. And the posts went viral on X and Instagram and wherever. And then I mentioned it on my podcast and radio show the next day. That was 6 days ago. Then, yesterday, 50 days after announcing her presidential run, Kamala added an issues page to her website. Now, of course, Kamala has many issues. We will get into them a little bit. For now, though, I am honored that I have played whatever role I did in forcing Kamala's many, many issues, personal and political, to light. I'm Michael Knowles. This is the Michael Knowles Show.
I want to know, am I racist? Am I racist? Why do you judge by the color of our faces? Is racial division just a plan by the matrix? They burn down our cities, then they get called courageous. Instead of condemning the media, give them praises.
Are Haitians eating geese and pets? I don't know. We'll figure it out. First, though, if they are, we definitely need to restore some balance to nature. Go to balanceofnature.com, promo code Knowles. Balance of Nature fruits and veggies is the most convenient way to get whole fruits and vegetables daily. They take fruits and vegetables, freeze dry them, turn them into a powder, and then put them into a capsule. Balance of Nature is just one ingredient of a balanced lifestyle. It has no intention to replace a healthy diet, exercise, sleep, or any other healthy habits. It is intended to be used in concert with other healthy habits. But sometimes, I'm on the road. I'm not necessarily doing much exercise, or I'm not eating all my fruits and vegetables. Well, Balance of Nature makes it so easy to get all those nutrients that you want. And not just for me, who I'm not the most athletically inclined, but even the real athlete types at this office. They love Balance of Nature. They pounce when it comes to the office. Go to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Knowles, KNWLAS, for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer, plus get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That is balanceofnature.com. Then you type in promo code Knowles, KNWLES, today. Kamala has added a policy platform. This is really great news. What is in the policy platform? I've read it, the Kamala issues page. I will give you everything you need to know ahead of tonight's debate. She promises to raise taxes significantly on people making more than $400,000 per year. Okay, standard Democrat stuff. Not good for the economy, but standard Democrat stuff. She promises to give away $25,000 to first-time home buyers and more than that to first-generation homeowners. She promises to give money to entrepreneurs, specifically to non-white people. This is the language she uses. Kamala has led the Biden-Harris administration's efforts to increase access to capital for small businesses and bring venture capital to parts of Middle America that have for too long been overlooked, driving a record 19 million new business applications, tripling the Small Business Administration's lending to Black-owned businesses, and more than doubling small dollar lending to Latino and women-owned businesses. So, great news if you are a woman or a racial minority trying to start a business. If you're a white guy, too bad. She promises to cancel medical debt for more people. Okay, what does that mean? It means the government just spends more money and pays off different insurance companies. She promises to raise taxes to bail out Social Security, Medicare, standard stuff, raise the minimum wage, standard stuff. She promises 2 Trump policies, no tax on tips and a child tax credit, which she took directly from the Trump campaign. She promises to spend more money on public schools. Here again, she promises to spend more money giving education specifically to non-white people. Kamala writes, to date, Vice President Harris has helped deliver the largest investment in public education in American history, provide nearly $170 billion in student debt relief for almost 5 million borrowers, and deliver record investments in HBCUs, tribal colleges, Hispanic-serving institutions, and other minority-serving institutions. So majority-serving institutions, you're out of luck. Too bad. Kamala thinks it's much more important to just give the money to her favored races. Then she promises to kill babies, no surprise. Then she promises to push more stuff, no surprise. Then she promises to rig the elections a bit more by expanding vote by mail and early voting, no surprise. Take away guns, amnesty and citizenship. She says she will fight the drug crisis, not by closing the border, but by promoting overdose drugs. Doesn't seem like the most effective way to do it. She is currently the border czar. She could fix things right now, doesn't want to do it. Then she promises to prosecute Trump and to gut the Supreme Court. So those are legitimately radical. But most of it is standard Democrat fare. Now, how do we know it's standard Democrat fare? Brett Baer over at Fox News pointed this out today. The source code for her issues page is largely copied from the Biden issues page. So, I don't want to claim too much credit here for forcing her to put this up. But what some people will say is, well, Michael, you didn't force her to do it. It just took her 50 days to write her issues page. No, it took her 0 days to write most of her issues page because she just stole it from Biden, which is very difficult because she calls her issues page the new path forward. But it's not a new path forward. She's currently the vice president. She currently has presidential authority on certain important matters. And she stole much of the rest of her issues from Joe Biden. So it's exactly the same path that we're on that is not working out very well. Now, there is one really, really big issue that Kamala has to deal with and has to answer for to pet owners and geese enjoyers in public parks in Ohio. That would be all the Haitian immigrants. There are 20,000 non-citizen Haitians that were brought into this small town in Ohio. And we'll get into the social media accusations about this, but reportedly killing pets and things like that. Well, here is Kamala Harris bragging about the policy that brought the Haitians here.
That is why, also, starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection.
There she is. She's bragging about this. What a humanitarian Kamala is. Except now it's a little politically unpopular. We're not just talking about 20,000 people in a town in Ohio. We're talking about, at one point, 100,000 people being given an even more formal protective status. Now, the problem with all of this, if you're a conservative, is that the old standard, write your manifesto on the back of an envelope kind of campaign trail line isn't going to work here. What do the Republicans say? They say, we want less illegal immigration and more legal immigration. Illegal is bad and legal is good, but we all want more immigration. And many of you do not. I do not. I don't think that would be good for the country. Most people, depending on which public opinion survey you're looking at, do not want more immigration of any kind. But that's the official acceptable line from the GOP. And the problem is these Haitians who have taken over this town in Ohio are not illegal aliens. They're here legally. The Biden-Harris administration brought them in and then gave them special legal protective status. The problems caused by mass migration are not just a matter of some technical violation of border law. It's a question of how many people should America take in? How quickly can they assimilate? What is a country? Is a country just an abstract idea floating in outer space, or is it made up of real people? How does one become an American? Do you become an American simply by reading the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution? Or does it require certain habits? Does it require certain culture? Does it take generations to become an American? Our founding fathers seem to think that it took a little while. And they were right about that. We point to the founding fathers as creating a purely creedal nation based on, this one document written by Thomas Jefferson. No, that's not how they viewed themselves. This is why, by the way, people on social media right now are talking about Haitians eating pets and ducks. So J.D. Vance brought this up. J.D. tweeted out, months ago, I raised the issue of Haitian illegal immigrants draining social services and generally causing chaos all over Springfield, Ohio. Reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. Where is our borders are? So here is that months ago testimony that J.D. Vance was referring to.
Chairman Brown, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit a letter for the record from the city of Springfield and our state, the southwestern part of our state, which I think highlights a very real example of this particular concern, straight from the horse's mouth itself. Now, this letter, I want to quote from it. Springfield has seen a surge in population through immigration that has significantly impacted our ability as a community to produce enough housing opportunities for all. Springfield's Haitian population has increased 15 to 20,000 over the last 4 years in a community of under 60,000 previous residents, putting a significant strain on our resources and ability to provide ample housing for all of our residents. And end quote there. And Mike,
no objection. So
thank you. In my conversations with folks in Springfield, it's not just housing. They're trying to build 5,000 new housing units, which is a very Herculean task in a town of about 55,000 people. But it's also hospital services, it's school services, there are a whole host of ways in which this immigration problem, I think, is having very real human consequences.
Okay. That's the much more serious, sober immigration policy explanation of what's going on. What everyone's talking about is the Haitian immigrants allegedly eating cats and dogs and geese and, well, all manner of pets. And so that's what's dominating social media. We actually have a video of a cat lamenting how much she misses the good old days of the Trump administration. It was really beautiful, obviously. So, our hearts go out to the cats and the geese and the dogs. But then we ask ourselves, is this really happening? And I, so far, have not seen evidence that the Haitians are eating cats and dogs. There was one video, or one photo, rather, that was going viral of a black guy walking around holding a Canadian goose. But it's not clear exactly where this was taking place. It's not clear if the guy is Haitian. Worth pointing out, as these reports come out of these Ohio towns that the geese are going missing, it is a federal crime to go kill geese in the park. Canadian geese are a protected species federally. Why? I don't know. They seem to be everywhere, but they're a federally protected species. And of course, as with all of these immigration issues, if native-born Americans committed even one fraction of the crimes that the illegal aliens are currently committing, and the people who have been brought over and given temporary protective status are currently committing, they would be in prison, especially if they're white people. But for some reason, we just let the illegal aliens and the temporary protected migrants off the hook. So that creates certain tensions in communities. But I think what this pet thing is really about is just a shocking, sensationalist headline that may or may not be based in reality. I haven't really found evidence that it's based in reality, but it's to underscore a real and urgent social concern that has been ignored by our political class, which we'll get to in 1 second. First, though, I got to tell you about Birch Gold. Text Knowles to 989898. Did you know there are nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent? That's right. There is a massive amount of money that the lame duck administration is pushing hard to spend in their final few months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, just like during COVID. I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans, but there's hope. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge for your savings in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by texting the word Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, to 989898. There's more good news. Due to enormous demand, Birch Gold is offering the 24-karat gold-plated truth bomb for one more month on qualifying purchases. You need to text Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, to 989898 to claim your eligibility before September 30th. Do not wait for the president's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future with gold. Text Knowles, Canada BLAS, to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and make your purchase before September 30th. You want to know why some people are accusing the Haitians of eating cats and dogs and geese in their towns? It's because of testimony like this from this woman from Springfield, Ohio, the town in question.
I noticed all of the old familiar spots bearing new signs in an unfamiliar language. I watched as groups of strangers walked around the city like lost tourists, and it was like a punch in the gut. A terrible sadness came over me, and I began to cry. I immediately started to think back to when I was little, walking from my grandma's house on South Fountain through downtown and all the way to Snyder Park, going to Wren's to get new school clothes and shoes, the excitement of the mall for lunch at the Blue Fox, or even better to see Santa, riding down High Street, admiring the beauty of those stately homes and their amazing architecture, dropping pennies in the fountain and making wishes. And now, all those warm memories are becoming fuel to the fire of anger inside of me. I feel like we have been invaded by some sort of... I'm angry that my friends and family are packing up and moving away. I'm angry that foreigners are using up the resources that were set up for the Americans that reside here. I'm angry that another country's flag was being flown in our city. I'm angry when I see our businesses and recreational areas littered with garbage left by people that do not know or understand our laws and culture and are making no attempt to learn about them.
That's what the goosing thing is about. It's not about the geese and the cats. People don't care about Canadian geese all that much. That's what it's about. And the way that woman spoke is not politically correct, and I'm sure she'll be called a racist and a bigot and a xenophobe for what she said. But there's a reason that video clip went viral, because I think a lot of people listen to her testimony and they ask, can you blame her? Can you blame her? This woman, something tells me she is not a descendant of the Rockefellers. Something tells me she doesn't have penthouses on Park Avenue. Okay, this isn't, rich Uncle Pennybags sneering on the poor hoi polloi and the migrants who come over. This is a woman who comes from a small town in Ohio, and she's been there for a long time, and she's got generational history in that town, and she has good memories in that town, and then her town was just taken away from her. She looks up, and people are speaking and writing in a language she doesn't recognize. She looks up, and the country is being filled up with people that are different. The people of the town are just being replaced. The people who are coming, no knock on them in themselves, but they don't understand the customs. They don't behave in the way the people in that town, people in this country are supposed to behave. They're foreign, and they have foreign customs and a foreign language, and they do foreign stuff, which is being caricatured and exaggerated to include eating cats and geese. But to her point, do we not have a right to our country? The liberals would say we don't. They would say we don't have a right to our country because this is stolen land that we took from the Indians, and they can never quite name which Indian tribes we took it from, and they never acknowledge which Indian tribes those Indian tribes took it from. But all they know is that it's evil that America's here, and we have no right to our country, and we have no right to our borders, and we have no right to our laws, and we have no right to our customs. And the people who say that, very frequently, they have a lot of money and they can live in very nice little communities and they can continue to have their own customs and they can send their kids to the schools they want to send them to, and they don't need to worry about street crime in their neighborhoods. But all the little people, they can deal with it. They can deal with the real life consequences of the utopian liberal dreams that they cook up to assuage their white guilt, which is based on ideological errors. Can you blame this woman? Her town was taken away from her. Her family's heritage and inheritance, cultural inheritance, was taken away from her. If the British did this kind of thing to a town in India, it would be condemned as imperialism and cultural genocide. And has been, by the way. Yet in this case, you can flood a country intentionally, as a matter of federal policy. You can flood a country with a very particular people who have radically different customs and language from the people in that town. You can radically change that town, just yank the polity away from those people, and it's totally fine. Actually, they have it coming. And why do they have it coming? Because they're poor white people. And poor white people are terrible, and they don't have any rights, and we just need to abolish their culture entirely. That's what the liberals are saying. And occasionally, not even that often, but occasionally, the poor white people say, hey, come, what gives, guys? And when they do that, they're called deplorable and irredeemable and racist and xenophobic. But something tells me those liberals who are implementing these policies, they're not importing the Haitian migrants to their neighborhoods. They don't want to live with those consequences. So, of course, the libs are trying to make all of this about racism. Maxine Waters, one of the gifts that keeps on giving in the liberal establishment, absolutely terrible, but she expresses what the libs really believe. She goes on MSNBC and she says, people hate these Haitians. They hate these Haitians, and they hate them because they're black and they speak Creole.
Well, let me just say this, that Haitians have been the victims of, not only our country, but Canada and France for years, historically. They're black, they're poor. It's the poorest country in the hemisphere. They have been exploited, and it continues all the time. They are not, it does not appear that they are seen in the same way that they see others.
Well, others don't eat geese from the park or do other things that this particular group is doing. But it can never be about what this group is doing. And it's not just the Haitians, by the way. Maxine Waters says the Haitians are viewed fundamentally differently. No, I think the Haitians are viewed in pretty much the same way as all of the other groups of people who have either immigrated illegally or have been forced on these small towns by the liberal presidential administrations, in contradiction to what the people actually want. They're viewed as foreigners. I recently gave a speech on Dante at the Intercollegiate Studies Institute, which is available on YouTube right now. I know some people have been asking about it. And in it, Dante's great-great-great-great-grandfather gives him some political advice in heaven and says, the confusion of peoples, the mixture of peoples, is always the beginning of ills in the city. And he's taking this lesson from Aristotle. It's not that the immigrants are bad in themselves. It's not that Haitians are bad in themselves. The Haitians do bad things like perform cannibalism and voodoo. Haiti, she points out, Haiti is the only successful slave revolt in history, and they've had a lot of problems ever since then. And if you're going to create an island of slaves, that's going to have political ramifications down the line. So Haiti, through its development and its history, has had all sorts of terrible problems, and you're seeing that today, not just economic, but cultural, spiritual, cannibalism, and voodoo. But it's not that Haitians are bad people in themselves, exactly. It's not that Mexicans or Guatemalans or Hondurans or Nicaraguans or whoever. It's not that people from Sweden or Timbuktu are bad in themselves. The question for immigration is just, do they fit? Do they fit? Can they be assimilated? Is it too many people? Is the culture strong enough? Does the culture benefit from this kind of migration? And the obvious answer is no. The people have been saying in America for decades, no, it's just too much. And our political class doesn't give a damn. Worse still, they do hear when the people say we want less migration, and they want to contradict that. They want to give the people the exact opposite policy that they desire and that would help the country. Now, speaking of making organizations flourish, you got to check out Ramp. Go to ramp.com/Knowles. Managing your business finances can feel like trying to balance the federal budget. It's a nightmare. But unlike our friends in Washington, you actually have to make the numbers work. Well, I've got news for you. It is time to ramp up your financial game with Ramp. Ramp is a corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money in your pocket. First off, Ramp gives you control like you wouldn't believe. We are talking issuing cards to every single employee, but with limits and restrictions that you set. Expense reporting, automated. No more wasting time at the end of every month trying to piece together who spent what. Ramp software automatically collects receipts, categorizes your expenses in real time. You'll be closing your books 8 times faster. Ramp is not just about saving time, it's about saving money. On average, businesses using Ramp save 5% in their first year. That is real money back in your business. Here's the best part. Ramp is so easy to use. Get started in less than 15 minutes, whether you have 5 employees or 5,000. Now, get $250 when you join Ramp. Go to ramp.com/Knowles, ramp.com/Knowles, ramp.com/Knowles. Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Speaking of justice, this was a hidden gem from Stephen Crowder. Crowder went undercover, James O'Keefe style, or one of his staff members went undercover, James O'Keefe style, and spoke to the top spokesman for the Southern District of New York. So this is a top spokesman for the DOJ, specifically Southern District of New York, which is where one of the places where Trump was being prosecuted. And this guy, Nicholas Biaz, public affairs director for this office, admitted on hidden camera that the Trump prosecutions are a perversion of justice.
Before he decided to prosecute Trump, did you know who it was? You do now. Alvin Bragg, yeah, who I've known for 15 years. He used to work in my office. I'm not sure what he wants to be, but I know he's not happy just being the DA of New York County. So Alvin's very ambitious. Every real estate person in New York does what he did. Nobody's ever been charged with this. Until him, it's a perversion of justice. He was stacking charges and rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense. State levels are wild west. They're like idiots. They don't care. They're all political. So yeah, this guy's probably going to try to lock him up, and it's going to be ugly. They're so obsessed with getting him.
Who is they?
The Democrats are so obsessed with getting him that they're going to pervert justice and do anything, no matter how ugly. That's true. And I guess it's got, you always feel kind of bad for these guys who think they're going on dates and then they're spilling the beans. But it's important to do, because here you've got the top flack, the guy whose job it is to shill for the DOJ in the Southern District of New York. And he's admitting on camera, yeah, this is a complete perversion of justice. Alvin Bragg is way ambitious, and it's really bad. Yeah. But that video won't change anyone's mind. Everyone knows that. The Democrats might tell us publicly that the reason they're prosecuting Trump is because no one is above the law. But if they want to abolish prisons and they want to let all the criminals go free. So this isn't about anyone being above the law. They want to ignore the law. This is about getting Donald Trump, getting revenge on the man who wasn't supposed to win in 2016. And then even probably the most charitable interpretation you could take is this is about stopping literal Hitler. Democrats have gone all in and said that Donald Trump is literal Hitler. Well, if he's literal Hitler, then you can do anything to stop him. Anything would be justified, according to the liberal mindset. This actually ties into what we were talking about during that controversial Tucker Carlson interview about World War II last week, when I said, people are focusing on the history, and I thought the interview went a little soft on the mustache man, as I pointed out, and was a little bit of a selective history, and so the history is being debated. But I said it's really the history isn't really the point here. The point that is salient and that is interesting is the point on how history plays into myth. Because all polities require some kind of myth, some kind of narrative that gives us a lens through which to view our present society. And World War II, being the biggest, craziest, deadliest war ever, is of course going to play a large role in that, putting aside any other political considerations. And so what did we get out of the myth following World War II? Well, you get the person of Hitler, who, the real Hitler, the historical Hitler, very, very evil man, did lots of very, very evil things. But not even Hitler was Hitler, in the sense that the role that Hitler plays in our mythos is as the incarnation of absolute evil. We don't call people the devil anymore. We don't say, that man, he's the devil. That man, he's Satan. We say, no, that guy, he's Hitler. That guy's literally Hitler. Hitler has now become a substitute for the devil. And this myth has in a way created the mirror image of Christianity. In Christianity, you have the incarnation of absolute good. And what a society desires is to be most like Jesus. What would Jesus do? In this modern liberal conception, there is no incarnation of absolute good. It's not merely that you have good and then evil is the privation of the good. It's that you have the incarnation of absolute evil, and then good is just a kind of privation of evil. The thing you want to do is not be the most good. It's not to be the most like our Lord. The thing you want to do is be the least like Hitler. Are you more or less a Nazi? Is kind of the question. So in this case, the Democrats have defined Trump. They've said, no, Reagan was Hitler, and George W. Bush was Hitler, and even Mitt Romney was kind of Hitler probably, but Dick Cheney was definitely Hitler, even though Dick Cheney now supports the Democrats, so he's not Hitler anymore. But Trump, that guy now, in the year of our Lord, 2024, that guy is literally Hitler. So we can do anything to stop him. That's why the video won't change minds. It feels good that at least we're not being totally gaslit. We're not having to pull our hair out. The libs are admitting, yeah, we're right. The conservatives, rather, are right. The prosecutions of Trump were a total perversion of justice, but it doesn't matter because we're beyond the law. We're beyond the Constitution. When you face an existential, this is a salient political point, when you face an existential threat to the entire polity, the rules can be broken in order to save the rules, because the rules are for the body politic, not the other way around. Our country is not for the Constitution. The Constitution is for the flourishing of our country. So, okay, Trump is literally Hitler. January 6th was the worst day in the history of the world. Trump constitutes an existential threat to the Republic, as Joe Biden said, launched his presidential campaign on that. They're still saying it, many of them, even after President Trump was nearly assassinated. So, okay, yeah, you caught the DOJ spokesman admitting it's all bogus, but doesn't matter. We're going to do it anyway. We've got to stop Hitler. Now, speaking of perversions, not just of justice, but of desire, the mind, there was a really gross tweet that was posted yesterday by Sam Lessin, former vice president of product at Facebook. This came to my attention thanks to not Harold Bloom, the late literary critic, but Arthur Bloom, an interesting writer and tweeter who posted this observation. Sam Lessin said, now, we're going to find out what our elites are thinking in even more explicit terms tonight, because we're going backstage for the presidential debate between Trump and Kamala, a debate that could determine America's 47th president. History is unfolding. We are inviting you to witness it with us on DailyWire Plus as we simulcast the full debate. When the debate is over, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Andrew Cleveland, Jeremy Boring, and I will break it all down. We will separate the facts and the logic from the nonsense. For a limited time, get our DailyWire Plus presidential deal, 47% off new annual memberships with code FIGHT. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code FIGHT for 47% off new annual DailyWire Plus memberships. Do not miss our special backstage presidential debate tonight on DailyWire Plus. My favorite comment yesterday is from Ryan L3899, who says, so Trump gave Kamala the worst of the Republicans and took the best of the Dems. That man just proved he's still a deal maker. That's so true. We lost Liz Cheney. I still kind of like Dick Cheney, but he's supporting his daughter. It's annoying. And so, okay, we lost Cheney and some of the Bushes, and okay. And in exchange, we got the most prominent living Kennedy. That's pretty good. And Tulsi Gabbard, who I really like. I really like Tulsi, even though she's still kind of a lib on some things, but on other things, she's great. She's better than many Republicans. So, I don't know. That's a good deal. I guess that's the art of the deal. Now, speaking of in the establishment media, ahead of tonight's debate, the Media Research Center analyzed all broadcasts of ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. David Muir, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is the anchor of that show. I remember my grandmother used to love watching him. She thought he was a handsome young man. I think a lot of grandmothers watch this guy. This is people who are accustomed to watching the old network news broadcasts. They just want the straight facts. None of this spin. My grandmother was quite Republican and conservative. But still, there was this holdover from the days when they thought they could really trust the network news, not to be partisan, not to be biased, but just to give them the facts. So, okay, does David Muir and ABC World News Tonight, do they just give the facts? According to MRC, reviewing all 100 campaign stories that aired on this ABC show from the day Harris entered the race, July 21st, through September 6th, that includes weekends, the analysts found 25 clearly positive statements about Harris from the show's reporters, anchors, from voters who are being interviewed, from other nonpartisan sources, they found 0 negative statements about Kamala Harris. Even if you're the biggest Harris fan in the world, even if you are a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, there's nothing about Harris you want to criticize. This woman got run out of the Democrat primary for president before the first primary in 2020. You got nothing to say about her? That's strange. So that means that ABC World News Tonight and David Muir, the moderator for tonight's debate, has a 100% positive spin score for Harris. How about Trump? I think they were positive or negative about Trump. MRC found just 5 clearly positive comments about Trump during that period of time, 66 negative statements. That means that ABC was 7% positive about Trump and 93% negative about Trump. Furthermore, forget about just the positive and the negative. ABC World News Tonight, anchored by tonight's debate moderator, never once referred to Harris as a liberal or progressive. Never once. NBC, to their credit, called Harris liberal or progressive. CBS, to their credit, the other network station, called Harris liberal or progressive, not ABC. Because to be liberal or progressive is to be not moderate, to be not conservative. It's going to turn off certain voters. They didn't do that. Kamala Harris is the most progressive, most liberal, farthest left senator when she was in the Senate, to the left of Bernie Sanders. ABC didn't think that was newsworthy. Didn't think her political leanings were newsworthy at all. So what can we expect tonight? The one really delightful little fact about tonight is it appears that the Harris campaign finally acquiesced and accepted the debate rules to turn off the candidates' respective microphones when the other is speaking. That was a rule proposed by Joe Biden. That was a rule that Trump did not want to accept, but the Democrats thought it would help the Democrats when Biden was the nominee, and so, or the presumptive nominee, and so Trump agreed to it. It ended up helping Trump. And then Kamala's campaign said, no, we got to get rid of that rule. And why? Because, as we said from the top of the show, Kamala does not have a policy platform. Kamala didn't have a policy platform on her website until I bullied her into it. She then stole her policy platform alternately from Joe Biden and Donald Trump. She's got nothing that she could bring tonight. She wants to chart a new way forward. She is not a new way forward. She is the incumbent, effectively. So the only thing she can do is be a sassy, identity politics playing kind of black lady who yells and snaps her fingers at Donald Trump, the mean white man with a tint of orange. That's all. The only thing they were hoping for tonight was Trump saying something and Harris saying, "Excuse me! Excuse me! Excuse me!" Which is all, that was her entire debate with Mike Pence when she was Biden's running mate and Pence was Trump's running mate. Excuse me! That was it. She didn't say anything substantive. So she was trying to do that. And because of the debate rules that the Democrats insisted upon for the first debate between Trump and Biden, she can't do that. Democrats hoisted on their own petard. Now, it's not just ABC among the networks that has been lying. This is a story, I meant to get to it last week. I want to make sure we get to it, though, before it falls out of the news. This is going to show you how the media are going to play, regardless of what happens tonight, how they're going to play every day from now until the election. Tom Cotton, Republican senator, was on NBC's Meet the Press. Tom Cotton pointed out that Kamala Harris never met with those 13 fallen U.S. service members during the extremely bungled withdrawal from Afghanistan under the Biden-Harris administration. Kristen Welker, the supposed journalist and news reporter who was interviewing Tom Cotton, tried to correct him.
And honored the sacrifice of those young men and women. But she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer. They were with them at the dignified transfer.
Her and Joe Biden's incompetence, those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
Okay, what Kristen Welker just said, no, she did meet with them. She met with them at this ceremony, and that is not true, as even NBC had to admit. Meet the Press posted later on that day. On our broadcast this morning, we incorrectly implied that both President Biden and Vice President Harris attended the dignified transfer of 13 American service members killed during the Afghanistan withdrawal. Biden was in attendance, but Harris was not. Incorrectly implied? You didn't incorrectly imply anything. You declared it as fact. There was no implication. There was no insinuation. It was a blunt declaration of fact that was false. You lied, or your news lady, Kristen Welker, just doesn't know anything and just completely speaks without knowledge. But the one thing I know you did not do is incorrectly imply. These people, NBC News, lied or otherwise told a falsehood on the air with the audacity to correct a Republican senator who was right in that instance. And then you certainly lied in your supposed correction. Whether or not, look, maybe Kristen Welker, maybe these NBC journalists are complete ignorant hacks. Could be. I don't put it past them. But I certainly know that the press team that came out afterward and corrected the record, they lied. That was intentional. There was no way that these people just accidentally watched the wrong footage or something. I don't know. They didn't quite notice what they themselves did. We incorrectly implied. No, you lied. Right there, at least. You got it completely wrong. With these people, even their corrections are lies. Now, speaking of chicanery, this is an important story I want to get to before the end of the show today, before the member segmentum, and before we get into the debate tonight. Overall, I'm feeling pretty good about the election. I'm feeling increasingly better about Pennsylvania. I'm feeling okay in the swing states, and especially, tonight's debate will affect the direction of the race. However, there is a threat looming, and this is in Wisconsin. Wisconsin has pretty good voter laws. Okay, Wisconsin, unlike certain other states, has pretty tight voter ID requirements, with one exception. And this was identified by the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, released a research report that showed that there are 144,347 people in Wisconsin classified as indefinitely confined. What is indefinitely confined? It means they can cast an absentee ballot without showing an ID. Now, how many people are indefinitely confined? Well, the numbers have changed quite a lot. During the 2020 election, the indefinitely confined rate skyrocketed in Wisconsin. And during that election, allowed tens of thousands of people to cast absentee ballots. Tens of thousands of people. That could be the election in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to be a very close election. Wisconsin was part of the reason that Donald Trump got elected in 2016. Tens of thousands of votes. Now, according to this organization, Wisconsin has a strong voter ID requirement in place, but there is one loophole that is ripe for exploitation. Absolutely right. Republicans need to engage in whatever lawfare we can to slow this down. Bobby Kennedy, just to show you an example of how we can still affect the ballots this late in the game, Bobby Kennedy is fighting in certain states to get his name off of the ballot, and certain state secretaries of state are not allowing him to get his name off the ballot, even after they fought with him to get his name on the ballot in the first place. But his fight over whether or not he'll appear on the ballot is actually delaying the ballot, which is good, because we know that when we have weeks and weeks and months of voting, not only is that unfair for a campaign, it means that the candidates can't continue to make their case, have debates, present information to the people. But we know also that makes the system ripe for abuse, for exploitation, for fraud. It's hard to keep your eyes on the ballot boxes with the same kind of intensity that you would on election day for days and days and weeks and months and months. We need serious lawfare in Wisconsin. This is a loophole that could cost Trump the state. Okay, it's Tee Tuesday. The rest of the show continues. Now, you do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLAS, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gon' say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
white
Folks,
White.
trash,
White supremacy.
white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around? There's a black person right here. Does he not
They gon'
exist?
say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gon' say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.